yikes. It's not every day that someone goes out of their way and asks me to take a look at something for them that just seems like should have had a little more time being cooked up in the lab. So yesterday I received a package from DHL from someone named Rita at Cloupor in China. I assume it was in China. I think it was in China. And she was nice enough to send me a pair of these. This is the Cloupor Cloutank C1. Apparently some form of patent is pending, as you can see on the box. In the package, she was also kind enough to throw in just a regular run-of-the-mill Ego battery. So I appreciate that. I can always find a use for an Ego battery. The Cloupor tank is interesting, is the nicest way to describe it. So at face value, it looks like your run-of-the-mill kind of Pro Tank style design. Looks similar to the Pro Tank, Pro Tank 2, the David Enemizer, or the David version. You know, it looks very similar to all of those things, but there's one glaring, obvious problem with this, and that is the actual design of this thing. The nice thing, and I'll show you this, it does assemble into multiple pieces, but where is it here? Let me just start by reading you a note from the back of the box. When you use Cloutank C1, after several smoke, please reverse the atomizer and hold for about 5 seconds. Let e-juice and wicks contacted fully let you enjoy the vaping better. So what that tells us, just without even seeing it, is that every time you've taken a puff or two, you are to invert for a few seconds to wet the wicks, meaning, guess where the coil is? It's up top. Oh, facepalm. Just a terrible, terrible, horrible, misguided design. This completely defeats the entire purpose of the Pro Tank design, which is that you're not fighting gravity to wick. So we'll ignore the sending me an Ego and thinking that people are going to want to carry something and use something that looks like this. There may be some people out there who would do that. So this is just your run-of-the-mill pulse width modulated Ego battery. It's not a variable voltage Ego battery, anything of the sort. So it does vape similar to a Pro Tank. It does have, and I'll show you this, I've got an extra one, I'll tear it apart for you. The extra piece of wicking, which I've removed, standard Ego battery. So your pulse width modulated, you're not pushing a lot of power. The resistance of the coil on this particular head is somewhere, I believe, if memory serves, in the 3 ohm category. I can't even get this to thread onto my Opus. So I'll throw it on Max, because Max likes everything. So the resistance here is showing 2.4 ohms. I'm going to crank this down to where I usually will run a Pro Tank at 10, 10 and a half. I'm going to put it down to 10 just to be generous. So that's pushing about 5 volts, which is just still far too much. Far too much. Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. I'm going to bring this way down to even 8 watts is going to be too much. Even trying to rotate this and keep the wick submerged, it can't wick fast enough with this top coil design. It's really subpar. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry. Thank you, Rita, for sending me this. It's terrible. Stop making these. Yank your patents. Don't continue. This is an absolutely ridiculous design that is going to fail when it gets to market. Tune out if you don't want to see me take it apart because you're just going to continue to scratch your head. If you want a good laugh, stay tuned. All right, Merry Christmas to you. You get to see more of my desk than I usually try and show because, as you can see, back over here, it's a disaster. So, the Cloutank does come in this presentation box, which really is the nicest part of the whole experience. Is opening that box. It comes with a fancy little card to show you how to fill it, how to refill e-liquid in the correct way. Yeah, so they say you should use a needle bottle. I use the syringe. If you've got a dripper, you could do it. You just need to drip it down the side. It comes in this box. It seems like there's a space here for a 510 battery. There wasn't one in the box. You also get an extra pair of these, come out, coil heads. Oh my gosh. There we go. So if you look, they look very, very strikingly similar to a Cloutank head. Come on, autofocus. Let me get this focused in for you. There you are. So, I mean, it at a glance, there is a Cloutank head. It also has this old-fashioned, original-style rubber grommet, not the new silicone ones that are in Cloutank 3. So the difference here is this top piece. Because of the top coil design, excuse me, and the way this sits in the tank, your vapor actually comes up through this and out the sides into your mouth. Here you can see there's a hole right there. So if you pop this open, there is that extra piece of wick sitting across. I mean, everything about it is essentially a Cloutank head. So we can pull that out. Actually, there are two pieces of wick here. So that could potentially help or harm, depending on your vaping style, the performance of the tank itself. So I'll stick that back together. So here is the Cloutank, which I have just quickly dumped the liquid out. Now it is glass, so if I take something that I can tamp on this with, you'll hear it is glass, which is, it's nice. I had fluid in here just because it was glass. And that's about the nicest thing I can say for the tank. So the mouthpiece does not take your own drip tip. Here you can see in the top of the cap, simply unscrews. You would normally take a needle bottle and fill through one of the larger openings on the side here around the top cap. So it's held together. It does disassemble completely. So you would start by unscrewing the top kind of nut, and it is not ribbed, but hexagonal, I believe, for your pleasure. So here you can see the top cap a little bit better. So you can see there are spaces where you can get a finer pointed or tipped syringe in there. From there, the entire glass tank piece comes out. So one would think you could maybe get extra glass pieces. Don't really know. Honestly, don't care. Then your coil head simply screws into the top. So it is somewhat convenient to take this apart, but not really, because once you take that nut off, right, which you have to do to get the coil head out, this is going to come loose, meaning if you have juice in here, it's also going to spill all over. Total fail design. Again, just it's one of the things that makes the Cloutank so good is that bottom coil design, and here they've screwed it up again. There's a nice squishy grommet across the bottom, which you can see there, and that's really all I have to say about it. This pin really sticks out. It seems somewhat adjustable. This center post, this doesn't like to thread on to some devices. It didn't want to thread on to my Opus. It did thread onto Max. Let me just grab something else that's handy. Here's my Nemesis. Let me see if it screws on here. It does thread on here, seemingly fine. So, big apologies that you guys have to see this. Hopefully it saves somebody from ordering this patent pending piece of shit, because there's just nothing I can say about it that's good other than, I guess it's got a glass tank and it does vaporize liquid, albeit quite poorly. So that's it. If the patent is released and the Cloutank C1 comes to your local vape shop, tell everybody you know, don't buy it, run away from it, ignore it. Unless they come out with the revision that puts the coil on the bottom where it should have been the entire time. This is just a big boat of fail. Again, just a quick rundown. Once you take this top nut off to change the screw, this comes loose. It's not going to hold in place, meaning e-liquid everywhere. When you put this coil head in the top, it's the old style still coil head with the silicone, or not silicone, the rubber grommet, which is going to get super burny. So you got to be careful if you're rebuilding it yourself. And oops, I got to get this the right way. There we go. And you know, just this top coil design, you're fighting gravity. It's going to be a crappy vape because of that. Nobody wants to sit and turn this upside down every couple of vapes for a requisite few seconds. So there you have it. Avoid it. Run for the hills. Run screaming, maybe kicking, curse its name. This is the Cloupor Cloutank C1. Sorry, read it from Cloupor, but this is just, it's garbage. There's nothing else I can